good. We only watched your video before we had pulled up, and I seen you speaking about your sister and her struggles with addiction, and
Yeah.
I could see how upset you were getting. And then when we just met you there a few seconds ago, you were getting a little bit upset again. So what is going on with you?
I suppose there's two things. My big fear is that you will say something that will make me forgive her, because where I am at the moment, the anger is easier, I think, than
The love.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
easier to
seen
get
that
through
you
the
said
day.
that it's easier to hate her than to love her.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I was mentioning to Paul that, do you think there'd be a possibility that you hate the fact you love her?
Yeah. I do. So that was my first fear, and then my second fear was that I would see in you what her life could have been, and that she just wasn't able to turn her back on her addictions the way you did, and that I'd find that very hard, that you will represent what she could have been, which she never will be now. She died age 41 with 3 kids, and everybody in the addiction centres told us that because she had 3 kids, her chances were really good, and I know you have a beautiful little girl as well.
Yeah.
And her struggles were just too hard.
You were baffled how she could leave the kids behind. I seen
because
that.
I have 2 kids myself.
Yeah.
And
But
I would walk over fires for them, and what I can't understand
is why she didn't stop.
Yeah.
So that's something that a lot of people tend to ask themselves, and what's crazy is, like, obviously me being the addict and you being the relative to the addict, they're both simultaneously in the addiction together.
Yeah.
But I was only saying a while ago, the addict is the one who gets to do the drugs. The addict is the one who gets to not care about the responsibility.
Yeah.
The addict has most of the goods and most of the lows as well, but the family member has every part of the lows.
Yeah.
With very, very
without the highs.
Exactly.
without
the
crack
highs.
of the drugs.
And sometimes you're getting hopeful and thinking, oh, this could be it.
Yeah.
And glimmer of hope starts, and then you're just disappointed. And that's called an emotional roller coaster, and that's what really starts to turn your love into the anger and into the hate.
Yeah.
But like, as the addict, and I'm sure this is probably what you are wondering, like, why could she do it? The reality of it is, she didn't know what she was doing.
Yeah.
I never knew what I was doing. I loved my daughter to bits, and I always wanted a girl who absolutely loved me, and for me to love her. And I found that with her mother. I absolutely idolised her mother.
Really?
And I treated her like shit.
Oh.
And I made her ultimately walk out on me. And I couldn't understand it, and I couldn't comprehend it until I started to grow, until I started to get better. Then I realised that I was just never aware of it.
Right.
And I only spoke about this. It's like having a file on a hard drive. The file is there, but unless the file is downloaded, you won't be able to understand it.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Especially with the likes of you, with your sister. She must have done a lot of stuff to hurt you, did she?
Oh, listen, over 30 years. I mean, she was 41 when she died, but she was difficult even before she became an addict, which, I think if she was born now, she would have been diagnosed with, I would suspect, ADHD.
Yeah, that's...
and like a huge percentage of people with ADHD.
Yeah, of course.
A huge percentage of entrepreneurs as well. Like, she had a lot of amazing qualities as well, but it's one thing that I've failed at in life. And that's hard to stomach as well.
But that's
and to
not
be
your
honest,
fault.
Yeah.
And I think you need to hear that, because it sounds like that you're taking on a lot of that responsibility. And I truly mean it, because my family absolutely loved me no matter what I done.
Yeah.
And they couldn't save me.
Yeah.
Because
but they did, though. Something that must have helped that they did.
I can still to this day, I can't comprehend what saved me. What's the difference between...
Do you think it was Ava? Your little girl was Ava.
Lucy Jane.
Lucy, sorry.
No, you're right. Like, I loved Lucy Jane more than anything, but it was the awareness of it. It was going to treatment and staying in treatment. I heard that your sister used to leave after 1 week.
Yeah.
And when I got to that, I could relate to that, because when you get to the 1 week, that's when the real shit starts to hit the fan.
Really?
That's when you start to have to go through all of that, because we like to deny it, and we like to, rather than address it, we try to suppress it, and then ultimately we go into fight or flight. And your sister had always ran out of the treatment centres, you said?
She did 10 days one time down in Tabor Lodge in Cork. That was the longest she did.
Yeah.
She did 7 days in John of God's twice. She was in a place called Ashery. You probably know them all.
I know Ashery. I was in Ashery. Yeah, I heard you say that. Yeah.
Ashery to me sounded great.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
But she kept on saying, "I'm not like these people," and we'd kind of look at her going, "You're the fucking image of them."
Yeah, I know.
Like, why can't you see that? Like,
because it's easier to deny it. See, when you're in that, like, the only way to explain it is, it's like you just don't. You feel like you don't know, but you feel like everybody else doesn't know. You know, you feel like everybody else is a stranger, everybody else is an alien, and ultimately there's something going on inside that person that makes them feel so lost. And that's where the drink and drugs come in, because it's a temporary solution for the problem that you're going through. But ultimately, the more you do it, then you have a new set of problems through the addiction. And the reason why you are taking them then just becomes a little bit clouded and guided. You don't know what's going on. And then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to her.
Do you get me? But
I do. And I think in the end, her brain was so scrambled by the drink and drugs that she just couldn't see clearly. And like we were begging her the weeks before she died to go to hospital, because she was, you know, physically like her. She just didn't look remotely like herself. And she thought that we were nuts and that she was grand, and you know, at that stage I think her brain was gone.
Yeah.
Absolutely gone.
Because like when you're in the midst of addiction, ultimately you're delusional beyond any means.
Yeah.
You know, and your delusion needs to fit the reality that you're living in, in order for it to enable you to keep acting the way you're acting and behaving the way you're behaving.
Yes.
Because if you take ownership of that, why would you keep drinking and doing drugs if you know that's wrong?
Yeah.
Do you get me?
I do.
So that's why you need to make up a story in your mind for it to be everybody else's fault and not yours.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing, because when you go into treatment, they make sure you feel that accountability. They make sure you feel everything that you've been doing to those people who absolutely love you. And that's what stirs up all that shit, and ultimately gets people to go out and go back on benders and go back on drink and drugs and alcohol and everything else, you know. There's a real opportunity here for you to learn so much about yourself.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And to push on.
Oh, thanks, Chris. That's
amazing.
I
mean that, like, you know.
Jeepers.
I mean that.
Oh my God, I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
Oh, you're alright. You're alright. You're alright. But that's why it's so important to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
But also with the right people.
Yes.
And I'm sure you know that as well.
I do know that, because 99% of people, thank God for them and for the world, don't understand it.
No.
And I'm delighted for them that they don't.
And it feels sometimes like they don't care. And then sometimes you can feel like an alien.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
and that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Because one of the best things about people who've had trauma or anything like that is the fact that when they're encountered with other people like that, then they start to connect with them.
Yeah.
Know?
Yes.
Like
I
didn't
totally
even see
get
you
that.
for 2 seconds, and the two of us.
I know, like as if we knew each other all our lives.
That's why I started off telling people about my story. Because I just wanted people to know, like, you're probably fucked up right now.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be alright.
Yeah.
I promise you that.
But you will change so many lives, like, which is just incredible.
Yeah, I'll be honest, like, I don't really look to change people's
I know,
life. I look
but you will,
to change
though.
my own, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm still flawed, and I'm still messed up, and I'm still ready to blow a fuse at any time.
Yeah.
But I just try my best not to.
Well, you're channeling it in all the right ways, which is what you said to me. Like, what's important now for me and for my family, my brother and my mum, is how we channel it going forward. And that means a lot to hear that. Because we can do it for her. She wasn't able to do it for herself, but we can do it for her in her honour, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And for you.
Yeah.
You know. Are you alright?
Oh my God, that was really tough, but really amazing.
I hope you're alright. And if it's ever the case that after this, like, you ever want to
But
have
you know,
a chat
the
around.
funny thing is, nobody has ever said to me, "Are you all right?" until you did.